Jerusalem, the city of gold, a source of inspiration for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. The Book of Psalms says, "If I forgot thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning." But could it be that biblical Jerusalem is actually more than 100 kilometers south of the city we revere today as the Holy City? One group living in the Holy Land thinks so.
They would come and pray after they presented themselves, they would come and pray. And the most interesting part about this specific Western Wall, and this is the actual prayer, this is the actual Western Wall.
Yeah.
But understand something, this is not the temple wall. This is the Mount Zion wall that David created before Solomon created the temple. The temple was on this hill right here. This is Mount Moriah Hill.
Tel Arad is an ancient site close to the Dead Sea. It contains 5 layers of history, including findings from the biblical era. For the average person, it is indeed an impressive sight, but not a holy one. But Howshua Amariel, who arrived here from Chicago in the late 1980s, is convinced that these are the remains of biblical Jerusalem.
David was right there, and he was first made king in Hebron. Hebron is right there. You see, so what David did, David came out of Hebron. The first act he did, he came out of Hebron, down into this area surrounded by mountains, not on the top of the mountains, where Melchizedek Jerusalem was, but an area surrounded by mountains, and he took a fort. And that fort that he took, it was standing in today. And that became known as the Citadel of David. But David did something very unique. And all the archaeologists in Israel will tell you this.
Yeah.
Where we're standing at right now is the first in history what is called a king sanctuary.
Howshua blames 2nd century CE Roman Emperor Hadrian for the belief that Jerusalem is in fact in the Judean hills.
It was a plan. It was an outright Christian conspiracy. The Christian, his name was Hadrian.
Right.
And this was before Christianity actually existed. But Hadrian had a plan because he felt that if the Jews or Hebrew people ever found Mount Zion, that would start a new world order. And so what happened was that he put a proclamation that stopped all Jews or the children of Israel from entering this land, this area, for 200 years. Constantine then came. But Hadrian did something. He renamed all the areas, everything in this area, he renamed it. But he called this city here Aelia Capitolonia.
Right.
So I have maps that prove and that show that this here is the actual Aelia Capitolonia.
I-24 News has followed Howshua and his community, known as Beit Israel, or the Tel Arad Israelites. They perform different rituals during Jewish holidays, such as Passover and Sukkot. We also covered their legal struggle against the Israeli Nature and Parks Authority. The group wants to declare Tel Arad a holy place and provide limited access to visitors. However, for now, court decided to leave the situation as it is.
The land people came to me first, and they said to me, "Mr. Amariel, let's settle out of court."
Right.
They said, "We'll give you," and only like to say, I always say $4 million. They offered me 4 million shekels. So then the judge called me into his chambers and said, "Mr. Amariel, you have a landmark case." He said, but I just want to inform you, we're not going to give you the land of Israel.
Howshua now wants to take the case to the International Court in Hague. Meanwhile, he's very concerned about racial tension in the United States following the death of African-American George Floyd. But his proposal to the African-American community is quite out of the left field.
I'm saying today, it's time for us to stop fighting the police in America, because the police system in America was never set up to protect the black community. And my suggestion is to leave America, to accept Thomas Jefferson's bill.
Settle here in Israel?
The ultimate objective is this is supposed to be the house of prayer for all people. But to answer your question, there's only one place in the world that has been purchased for black Americans, and that's Liberia.
Recently, Howshua and his family have started to tour the Negev desert, perhaps as a tribute to the wandering Israelites. And though most historians and scholars will disagree with him, for him, this must be Jerusalem.